Hello, you guys. Welcome to the second episode of the Crime with Kylie podcast. Now, today's episode is going to be an absolute roller coaster. This case just infuriates me because it was not properly investigated and there are so many clear signs of what actually happened, but they have just been ignored. And a big part of making this podcast today is to try to get this video in front of the right person to actually be able to reinvestigate this case. This is the case of 18-year-old Grant Solomon. Now, I also have to say that everything we're about to talk about is allegedly what occurred, and I have to say allegedly because no one has been arrested or charged in this case. All of my sources will be linked below, but the rest of my sources I received directly from Angie's team and Angie's family. In this case, there will also be mentions of mental, physical, and emotional abuse, as well as sexual assault of a minor. To get a better understanding of the case and the events that transpired on July 20th of 2020, we're going to go over a timeline from 2002 to 2020. Now let's get into the case. Grant Solomon was born on June 13th of 2002 to Angie and Aaron Solomon. So who exactly are Angie and Aaron? Aaron Solomon is very well known in both Nashville and Franklin, Tennessee. For a period of time, Aaron was a sports reporter and a morning anchor at WSMV-TV. He left the station in 2011 and insists that he left voluntarily. However, Angie, along with other sources, stated that he was forced to leave due to inappropriate materials on his computer and phone. And then after that, he had a very short career in sports radio. In 2012, he received a multi-million-dollar inheritance and stopped broadcasting for good, but in 2014, he did become a financial planner. Now, Angie had a very difficult childhood and was exposed to abuse at a very young age. However, despite the challenges that she faced as a child, she did go on to become a doctor of pharmacy. Now, in 2001, Angie got into a 6-week relationship with Aaron, which resulted in her becoming pregnant, so that is why Angie and Aaron got married initially. And then 4 years after Grant was born in 2006, they had another child whose name is Gracie. And Gracie was also a victim, so this is kind of her case as well. But in 2008, things took a turn for the worse when Angie discovered that Aaron was doing things like grooming underage girls online, hiring sex workers, and having affairs. She confronted him about this, but he told her that if she ever told anyone that she would never see her children again. And this marked the beginning of years of domestic abuse. Aaron liked to have a tight grip on Angie and controlled everything that she did. For instance, also in 2008, Angie started seeing a therapist named Dr. Fertel, and Aaron did not like Angie seeing a therapist because they could talk about things that Aaron was unaware of. So in response, Aaron started going to these therapy appointments with her just to know what they were discussing. And it was during these sessions that Angie was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and Aaron was diagnosed with having a sex addiction. And it was during that same year that when Angie would go to get her hair done at the salon that Aaron would try to tag along or try to be nearby just to hear what she was talking about. Now, Angie was in this abusive marriage with Aaron for several years, and if you guys have ever been a victim of domestic abuse or have any knowledge on it, I'm sure you guys already know the possible list of reasons why a victim does not immediately leave. A big part of it could be financial power over the victim, physical power over the victim, or even psychological power over the victim, and in this case it was a combination of all three. Now, it was in 2011 or 2012 that the point came where the abuse was just too intolerable, and that is because the abuse started to happen to Angie's children. And Angie's children mean the world to her, so when the abuse started to happen to them, she knew that she had to get them out of there. In 2012, Angie started seeing Dr. Michael Reed, who is a psychiatrist. Now, she went to Dr. Michael Reed to help her cope with the abuse and also help her come up with a plan to get her and her kids out of that situation safely. However, sadly, things began to get worse for her and her children at home. For instance, in early 2013, Gracie, at just 5 years old, started refusing to take a bath. Gracie told her mom, Angie, that during bath time, her dad, Aaron, would put things up inside of her. She said that what he was doing was hurting. Angie confronted Aaron about this, and like before, he did admit to it. However, he also told her that if she told anyone, that she would never see her children again. It was also in early 2013 that the Nashville police went to the Solomon home. Although there's not much information as to why the police were called there is record that Angie and the two kids were talking to the police officers inside, whereas Aaron was outside. The only statement from this police call is recorded by the Nashville Fire Department EMT. In this statement, it was clear that they were not on the residence long, and that Aaron reported that his wife Angie was mentally ill and causing trouble. It was also noted by the EMT that when Angie and the kids came outside to go be with Aaron and the EMT, that Aaron's demeanor completely changed. He was apparently very chatty and very calm with the EMT, but then when he saw Angie, he just turned, angry. The EMT also recalled that Aaron took a few steps towards Angie when she stepped outside. However, a police officer stopped him. And it was really within those first 3 months of 2013 that Angie and Dr. Reed started to plan her and the children's escape. During this time that Angie still had to live with Aaron, she was documenting in the Notes app on her phone every single thing that Aaron did. However, in March of 2013, Aaron found out about this. In March of 2013, Angie left the house in a rush to go pick up Grant and Gracie from school. However, in the rushed manner, she accidentally left her phone at home, and Aaron decided to snoop. When he snooped through her phone, he found all of the notes that she was taking about what he did to her and the kids. A little while later, when Angie returned home with Grant and Gracie, Aaron pulled her aside and told her this: "I told you what would happen if you ever talked to anyone about what's going on in the house." He then dropped her phone into the toilet. A month later, on April 8th of 2013, Aaron stole a check and forged it. He stole this check from the desk of an employee at the children's school, which was Grace Christian Academy. And Grace Christian Academy was a part of Grace Chapel. And there is so much more on that we'll get into in a little bit. Aaron forged the signature of Mendy Hicks. And although Mendy was an employee, she did not have the authorization to write checks, so when it got to the bank, it was immediately flagged and reported back to the school. And it was later found out that it was Aaron who forged the check. On May 9th of 2013, Grant witnessed his dad try to kill his mom. Aaron tried to strangle Angie with the cord from her hairdryer, but Angie and Grant were too scared to say anything. Without Angie's knowledge, Aaron had contacted her parents and told them that she was suicidal and had tried to take her own life. The very next day, on May 10th of 2013, Angie left the house to go chaperone the kids' field trip. She was an amazing mom, she is an amazing mom, and she was always involved with them in school. However, when she got home later that day, her parents and Aaron were there waiting for her. It was then that she realized the lie that Aaron told, and they took her to the hospital. They took Angie to Parthenon Centennial Hospital. It was there that they told the staff and the doctor that Angie had tried to commit suicide. When Angie was treated by Dr. Murphy, she told him that the entire story that Aaron gave was a lie. She said the truth, that Aaron tried to strangle her with the cord from her hairdryer, and she said that she was not suicidal, she never tried to take her own life, and Dr. Murphy believed her. And for her own protection, he let her stay overnight at the hospital. Him, along with the rest of the staff, also advised Angie to get a restraining order, and she did. However, sadly, that restraining order did not protect her and her kids for long, because the very next day, on May 11th of 2013, when Angie returned home from the hospital, Aaron and the kids were gone. And I cannot imagine the panic that Angie must have felt with all of the threats that Aaron had given her before and with all of the things that he had already done to the kids. And Aaron was able to convince every one of his lies, including Angie's own parents. And as I'm sure it's clear to you guys, Aaron was trying to make Angie out to be crazy, mentally ill, suicidal, and he was ultimately trying to make her seem like she was an unfit mother and wife, so that way the things that he would do later on would be much easier. Angie repeatedly called Aaron and her parents and her in-laws, and no one would pick up the phone. She was so worried and so panicked about what would happen to her children, but no one called and comforted her. She got zero reassurance that they were safe. She did, however, have hope that they would return the very next day, which was May 12th, and May 12th was Mother's Day, so it was understandable for her to think that she would see her children on that day. However, Aaron didn't even grant her that. As a result, Angie ended up calling the Nashville Police Department, and the person who answered her call took her call very seriously. However, Aaron then called someone a little higher up than that deputy, and nothing happened. The one call she did receive that day was finally from Aaron and her parents, and both of them told her that she had to drop the restraining order or she would never see her children again. And her parents even agreed with all of this, which is just unbelievable and heartbreaking, and I cannot imagine the feeling of betrayal that Angie must have felt. On May 15th of 2013, Angie was finally fed up with all of this. She wanted to see her children again, so she contacted a friend of hers who was a lawyer because she wanted to file for divorce against Aaron. However, when her friend went to look at that for her, her friend discovered that Aaron had already filed for divorce. And his reason for filing for divorce was to protect himself and protect the children. As a result of this motion, Angie was not able to attend Gracie's kindergarten graduation. Now let's flash forward to May 26th of 2013. Aaron, Angie's parents, and the children return home, and Aaron tells Angie that if she behaves, he will stay, and so will the children. But the very next day, on May 27th, Aaron breaks that promise. That morning of May 27th, Aaron told the kids that they were going to go to a donut shop and they were going to get some apple fritters for their mom. However, on the way back from the donut shop, Grant notices that they're not going in the right direction. They're going far from home. Gracie later shared in a statement that Grant tried to jump out of the car while it was moving, but Aaron grabbed Grant's wrist so hard that Grant thought it could have broke. Clearly, Aaron was thinking selfishly and not on the behalf of his kids. Not once did he think, is this what my kids want? Because if he did, he would have just let his kids go and live with Angie. That is what they wanted. They wanted their mom. June 21st of 2013 is when Angie and Aaron had their divorce hearing, and Angie's own father testified against Angie in favor of Aaron. The judge that they had for their divorce hearing was Judge Philip E. Smith, and it is unknown if this is related or not, but it is quite suspicious. 4 months after the divorce hearing, Aaron's attorney donated to the judge's re-election campaign. And I say it's suspicious because also 4 months after the hearing in October, on October 7th of 2013, that same exact judge makes Angie go and take a forensic evaluation for her mental health and her mental well-being. And I have to say that this is highly unnecessary because, as we previously mentioned, Angie was already at the hospital and already had that evaluation done to her, and Dr. Murphy determined that she was just fine. But despite this, Judge Smith made her have another mental evaluation, and he chose a doctor named Dr. Freeman. And Dr. Freeman's report even said that Angie is a loving, caring, and capable mother, and agreed with the previous doctor, Dr. Murphy's evaluation of Angie. And guess what? Despite the fact that Judge Smith is the one who requested this report and evaluation be done in the first place, he completely dismissed the report and the results because it did not fit the narrative of a mentally unstable mother. Are you guys starting to see why this case is just so infuriating and so frustrating? I think this case just further highlights the fact that money, power, and influence still has such a tight grip on society, despite right and wrong, no matter how obvious it is. After the court hearing and Aaron got custody of the kids, Angie was not allowed to see her own children until almost a year later. She did not see her children until February of 2014. And mind you, the court hearing was in June of 2013. When Angie first saw her daughter Gracie had purple bags under her eyes and she just looked sickly. She did not look happy and healthy and thriving. By February 18th of 2014, Aaron is only allowing Angie to see her children at sports events. When Gracie would sit with her mom in the bleachers while they watched Grant play, she confided in her mom and told her that Aaron was still sexually abusing her. She told Angie that Aaron is still putting soap inside of her and that it stings. Angie was able to record a small part of that conversation. On December 19th of 2014, Aaron informed Angie that she would not be seeing her kids for Christmas, and that was the second Christmas that Angie spent without her children. 4 months later, on March 16th of 2015, Gracie was able to secretly FaceTime her mom without Aaron knowing. And while on FaceTime with her mom, Gracie showed her mom bruises that were all over her legs. And she said that these bruises were caused by Aaron. And these were bruises on Gracie's inner thighs that Aaron later claimed were from a bathing suit rash. And you guys are going to think that this next part is extra ridiculous and extra toxic because on April 5th of 2015, Aaron warranted for Angie's arrest because Angie was not paying him child support. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but from the beginning of the episode, we stated that Aaron was receiving portions of his multi-million-dollar inheritance. So Aaron did not need the money. He was just trying to ruin Angie's life further. From April 5th of 2015 to early 2018, Aaron had complete control over Angie and the children's lives. Now this part is extremely important. On May 4th of 2018, Angie meets with Patty Tremblay and Lori Ellswood about selling an MLM product. Angie explains that she needs to focus on her and her children's safety and the safeties of others on the GCA campus. And the GCA campus is the Grace Christian Academy campus that we mentioned earlier, where the kids went to school and where Aaron was supposedly or allegedly grooming underage girls from that school. During their conversation, Angie decided to confide in them about the abuse that her and her family were facing from Aaron. She also told Patty and Lori that Aaron had been privately messaging underage girls from the Grace Christian Academy campus. And these girls were the same age as his own daughter. Now, it's also important to note that Patty was the assistant to Steve Berger, and Steve Berger was the founder of the Grace Christian Academy campus. After Angie told them all about the abuse and grooming, the two women then called up Bill Woodward. Bill Woodward was the campus security at Grace Christian Academy. Bill Woodward took the concern seriously and said that he would talk to Judge Deanna Johnson, who is the wife of the Senator Jack Johnson of Tennessee, and all of them went to Grace Chapel Church together, which is a part of the GCA campus. And it seems like that was a pretty solid plan, right? Talking to someone who is a judge, who knows the senator, like, they've got to do something, right? Because what Aaron was doing was completely illegal. But no, when Bill Woodward went and talked to Judge Deanna Johnson, she said she would only take a look at Angie's case if it came across her desk. And we're talking about a female judge here. Like, I cannot believe that another woman would hear about the grooming of underage girls and just be like, especially when she has the power to do something about it. It was after that that Angie filed for dependent neglect. After that, Patty then told Angie that Robbie Mason, who was the headmaster of GCA, would not do anything about Grant, Gracie, or the grooming of other students. After Angie got all of this information from Patty, she then went and talked to her friend, who was Sheriff Jeff Long. And Patty went and attended this meeting with Angie and Sheriff Jeff Long. The report from the sheriff's office agreed with Angie's claim. Although there are no church members mentioned in the report, it did confirm that Aaron was grooming underage girls, at least on social media. 18 days after that meeting, a detective contacts Angie about the case. Sheriff Long then assigned Lieutenant Tamika Sanders to the case. When Lieutenant Sanders was informed that Gracie had been sexually abused by Aaron, she wanted a forensic interview to be done. This forensic interview was going to be done at Davis House, which was a child advocacy center. On either May 7th or May 8th of 2018, Bill Woodward went and found Grant and Gracie on campus and told them if they ever needed a place to hide that they could use his office. And Bill Woodward then showed both Grant and Gracie where his office was located. Bill Woodward wanted Grant and Gracie to be safe and to feel safe because he believed their claims. On May 8th of 2018, Steve Berger spoke with Grant. Steve Berger himself also corroborated that this happened on May 8th of 2018. Steve had the intention of talking with Grant about how Grant could become closer with God. However, during their private meeting, Grant felt safe enough to confide in him about the abuse that him and his family were suffering. Once again, no one did anything. Steve Berger completely ignored this. On May 16th of 2018, Angie asked for help once again. This time, Angie asked for help from a church elder who also happened to be an attorney. However, this elder informed her that there was nothing he could do. On June 1st of 2018, Angie sent the snippet of the recording of Gracie telling her about Aaron and the soap to Lieutenant Tamika Sanders. Also in that first week of June of 2018, Angie reached out to the pastor of Grace Chapel and she confided in him about the abuse that she was going through and that she feared for her children's safety. And instead of doing anything, instead of kicking Aaron out, or calling the police or doing anything actually helpful, they just prayed over her and gave her some anointing oil. On July 9th of 2018, Gracie and Grant actually went to the Davis house for the forensic interview. Following the interviews, Lieutenant Tamika Sanders called DCS, and DCS told her to not investigate the case any further. And Lieutenant Sanders just decided to do what she was told instead of doing what was in the best interest of the children. In August of 2018, Grant and Gracie decided to run away from Aaron. They did not want to live with him or tolerate his abuse any longer. However, Aaron decided that the best course of action was to call the cops on his own children. He wanted to scare them. In August 15th of 2018, Heather Webb was the attorney assigned to represent the best interest of Grant and Gracie. She was assigned to them because there was an upcoming hearing. But the very next day, on August 16th of 2018, Grant had an away baseball tournament, and this tournament took place in Cary, North Carolina. Aaron and Gracie both attended. However, Gracie then contacted Angie when Aaron told her that they had to return to Nashville for a court appearance. That night, after watching Grant's baseball tournament, Grant was with the rest of his teammates and Aaron went and got a hotel room. He got this hotel room for himself and Gracie in Asheville, North Carolina, because as I mentioned before, they needed to stay overnight so that way they could drive back to Nashville the next day for the court hearing. However, what Aaron did is he got a hotel room with only one bed. And this was messed up and wrong to do as is, but also keep in mind that at this point, Gracie was 11 or 12 years old. At 11 or 12 years old, I feel like that's the point in womanhood where you start to become a woman, if you know what I mean. And it's very important for girls of that age to have privacy, especially when you're not comfortable with your father as is. But sadly, Aaron does not care about his daughter's well-being whatsoever. And that night, by Gracie's own account, she said that Aaron raped her in that hotel room in Asheville, North Carolina. Gracie was understandably traumatized by this event and recounts the entire thing in a YouTube video that is her testimony against Aaron. And I'm now going to play you guys a few clips from Gracie's video so you can hear her story in her own words.
My name is Gracie Solomon. I'm 14 years old and I'm here to tell my story. I just want to say before we get into any of this that it's coming straight from me. It's all me. And no one else is telling me what to do. My father's a monster. It makes me want to vomit. I've been minimalized, but now I've found my voice. To be able to tell you that my father raped me, hurt me, and I'm not going to be a victim of this monster. He's a rapist, he's a molester, he's a liar, and he's a killer. I hate my dad. I'm absolutely terrified of him for everything he has done to me, my brother, and my mom. I don't want to call him my dad anymore. He's never listened to me. He has hurt me sexually, physically, and mentally. He has caused so much pain for my family. He has tried to manipulate me and has manipulated others, and it has worked. Ever since I was born, my dad has done awful things to me. First, he never let my mom bathe me. It was always him. So by not letting my mom come in at all, it meant that he could do anything to me. I would always tell my mom I felt like I was more like a wife to him instead of his daughter. He would always bring his phone into the bathroom with him. At the time, I didn't know it, but I strongly believe he was taking pictures and videos. I had to learn to hide my body from him by flipping my hair over because he wouldn't leave me alone while I was showering or getting out. He would make excuses like me needing a towel or my hair was hard for me to wash on my own. So he would be able to help me. He is a sick person. After showering, he would sit me down in his lap with only a towel to brush my hair. He brushed through my hair so aggressively I would sometimes cry. I had terrible scars from that, and they are still somewhat visible. I even remember taking a bath as a young kid, probably first grade, and him washing me with a Dove bar soap completely up and inside of my privates. I know now that it was probably his hand, but I was too young to know any better. All of my grandparents knew about the abuse and still supported him. When I was at his house at night, I would sometimes feel like I couldn't control my body, or I would get sleepy and wake up in my dad's bed. One night, I woke up with rashes on my inner thighs, both, and my privates also burned frequently. One of Grant's friends remembers looking over the upstairs railing and seeing my head slung over, and Dad wrapping me in his lap. Sorry. Every night, my dad would lock his bedroom door. Sometimes I was sick or crying. Most of the time, I'm probably missing my mom so much. And I would bang on his door and scream for him. He never answered.
Honestly, every time I watch her video, I get the chills, and that wasn't even all of it. There's so much more, so many more details that Gracie gives. And if you are a YouTube listener or a YouTube watcher, Gracie's story will also be linked below her own video. Before we go on to the next part of the timeline, I did also want to mention some of the things that Gracie said in her video in the parts that I have not shown yet. And this has to do with Grant and how Aaron treated Grant. Aaron was very hard on Grant. He pushed him further than a parent should push a child. It was not a healthy way of pushing. For instance, he would hold things over him like his car. He'd lock him and Gracie's phones in the bathroom or in the bedroom for no reason where they couldn't access them, just because he didn't want them to contact their mom. Even if Grant was sick or tired, he forced him to go to baseball practice. Additionally, Grant was thriving both academically and in baseball. As a result, he constantly had letters coming his way from people who wanted to recruit him for baseball or colleges who wanted him. However, he never knew about this because Aaron would take those letters, and if he didn't like the college himself, he would hide them from Grant. I think in summary, Aaron tried to control every single aspect of his children's lives, even the parts that should have just been theirs to control, and he really did ensure that his kids were scared of him. Also, during all of this, the main thing that Grant wanted to do was protect his mom, Angie, and his sister, Gracie, and that was getting harder and harder to do because even as they began telling more people, still, no one would do anything to help them, even if they had the power to help. Okay, so where we left off was August 16th and August 17th of 2018. So, as you guys have just learned, Aaron raped Gracie the night before they had a court hearing, and this was in North Carolina. But the very next morning, they left the hotel, and Aaron drove Gracie all the way back to Nashville for this court hearing, and Gracie had a recorded testimony against Aaron. She was brave enough, and I can't even imagine how brave she was. She just went through that. She's either 11 or 12 years old, and her father, who has taken wrongful custody of her, lied and done all of these things. He even made her and Grant for a few years think that their mom was dead. he is just a beyond effed up and scary individual. But she was brave enough to record herself a testimony against him, and the very next day at court, no one even bothered to listen to it. By the end of the court hearing, the judge decided that both Grant and Gracie would continue to live with Aaron and that Aaron would continue to have full custody. But Heather Webb, the attorney that I mentioned earlier, who was going to represent the best interest of both Grant and Gracie, did give Gracie her card with her private number on it. Following the court hearing, Aaron and Gracie had to go drive back up to Cary, North Carolina to pick up Grant. Now we're going to go to the very end of that month, August 31st of 2018, and Gracie is at GCA. She is at school. Aaron had shown up in his car to pick up Gracie, but Gracie was terrified. She was in tears, she was crying, and she ran all the way to the headmistress's office where she called her mom, Angie. While also in the headmistress's office, she confided in the headmistress about every single thing that Aaron had done to her. However, instead of helping her and comforting her, the headmistress just called in the headmaster, Robbie Mason. Robbie Mason completely neglects Gracie's concerns and needs and just forces her to get into the car with Aaron. And I know for sure there's a law about this in California, but I'm not sure about Tennessee, where if a child reports something to a school official that they are being harmed, that school official is now responsible to report it. Okay, so I just looked into that, and upon checking, yes, teachers and school officials are legally obligated to go and report to the proper authorities if they suspect or are told that a child is being abused or neglected, which in many ways Gracie was both, and she reported it many times. So the headmistress and Robbie Mason are also guilty of a crime. On September 16th of 2016, there was another court hearing, and the judge was Judge Cabal, who is the same exact judge who just recently in August granted Aaron full custody once again. And this time he listened to part of the forensic interview that Grant and Gracie did at the Davis house. And upon listening to it, or at least a part of it, he initially agreed to let both children go back and live with Angie. However, he quickly changed his mind and just allowed Gracie to go back to living with Angie because Grant was old enough to take care of himself. And I honestly can't fathom how he came to that conclusion, because in September of 2018, if Grant was born in June of 2002, Grant would have been just 16 years old, so he would have still been a minor. On November 7th of 2018, Gracie was called into the office at GCA, and initially you would think that they were finally taking her claims of abuse seriously. However, they only called her in to tell her that she needed to stop talking about being abused, and according to them, this was for her own reputation. It still blows my mind that full-grown women would ignore these claims of abuse from a young girl. The only reason Gracie was still talking about her abuse is because none of those adults at the school who were responsible for her well-being and safety were doing anything to help her. Alright, you guys, do you remember Judge Deanna Johnson? For a little refresher, she was the one who said she would only take a look at Angie's case about Aaron grooming girls and about Grant and Gracie if it came across her desk. So yeah, we're back to talking about her. In February of 2019, Angie filed a petition for dependent neglect, and that case went before Judge Deanna Johnson. Judge Deanna Johnson dismissed the case almost immediately and labeled Angie as an abusive litigant. And this means that she accused Angie of being someone to exploit the legal system in a wrong way. And by wrong way, I mean to assert power and control, which Angie was not doing at all. She was just reporting what was wrong. And the worst part about this is that Judge Deanna Johnson prevented Angie from filing any more motions against Aaron until Gracie turned 18 years old. Judge Deanna Johnson also accused Angie of harassing Aaron and said that her claims for abuse had no merit and no grounds. And mind you that Angie had all of this evidence of Aaron's abuse. You know, the many times that he called the cops on her wrongly, or the times that he said she was suicidal when she wasn't, or the fact that she had video recordings of Gracie talking about the abuse that Aaron put her through. Also, you know that one sheriff's report that confirmed that Aaron was grooming underage girls online? Or the forensic interviews that both Grant and Gracie did. There was plenty of evidence of Aaron's wrongdoings and abuse, however, Judge Deanna Johnson just ignored them because of their little inner circle. And by inner circle, I mean the whole Grace Chapel, Grace Christian Academy, the church, the Senate, like they were all in bed together. Judge Deanna Johnson also ignored all of the mental evaluations that Angie had to go through throughout the years. She ignored the fact that Angie was diagnosed with PTSD from Aaron, and the fact that 2 doctors who examined her said that she was a capable and fit mother, and that she was sane. So yeah, because of that, Judge, Angie was not able to do anything legally against Aaron for the next foreseeable 6 years. Okay, now we're going to be discussing events that occurred between 2019 and 2020. And I'm not exactly sure about the date here, but at some point within that time span, Aaron went out and bought burial sites for himself, the kids, and Angie. And that is just so strange, so weird, so random. Like, why? I mean, even if you were like preparing for the future, why would you want to be buried with your ex-wife that you seem to hate? And I only say seem to hate because of all of the aforementioned events. And also his kids were extremely young, so that is just weird. And in case you guys want to verify this information for yourself, right now I'm going to put a picture on screen of the receipt that Aaron Solomon received after buying the burial plots. As you guys can see, here's his signature, and then I'm also going to show a few pictures of his signature on other documents. These were purchased at some time in 2020, it looks like, and he is making 11 payments on them. You can also clearly see Angie and Gracie's name on the paper. Okay, now let's talk about the events that transpired in June and July of 2020. On June 13th of 2020, Grant finally turned 18 years old, and he was very excited about this. He wanted to go to court and testify against his father, Aaron Solomon, for the abuses that Gracie was subjected to. He figured that now that he was 18 years old that the court would actually take him seriously. The other exciting part about Grant turning 18 is now he was completely free from Aaron. Grant was able to go and live with his mom Angie and never have to worry again about being dragged to court by Aaron. Grant also told his mom and Gracie that when he went to court, he was also going to try to get custody of Gracie, so Gracie could be completely free from Aaron as well. But sadly, due to the events that transpired on July 20th of 2020, Grant was never able to do that. That morning of July 20th of 2020, Grant had pitching practice, and Aaron was going to meet him at the field. At 7:37 a.m., Grant left the house. He called his mom at 7:51 and told her that he had plans to go out with his girlfriend after baseball. That was the last time that Angie ever heard from her son. According to the Life 360 that was on Grant's phone, Grant arrived at the field between 8:27 and 8:41 a.m. Aaron reportedly parked his car next to Grant's truck at the WPI. This baseball training facility is in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is near Franklin, Tennessee. At that time, so early in the morning, Aaron and Grant were the only two people who were there. So everything I'm about to say is how the events occurred according to Aaron. Aaron said that he was parked next to Grant and was sitting in his car checking work emails on his phone. Grant apparently got out of his truck to go get his baseball gear from the bed of his truck. However, according to his mom Angie, Grant never kept his baseball gear in the bed of his truck, and he always kept his baseball gear in the back seat. Somehow, while Aaron was working on his work emails, he didn't know that Grant's truck started to roll backwards and then somehow pinned Grant underneath his truck and rolled completely down the incline that they were parked on. Also important to note that Grant was above 6 foot, so it was very unlikely for him to get dragged by his own vehicle, especially the entire way down the incline. But anyways, according to Aaron, he did not realize what had happened until it was too late. Grant's truck had rolled into this grassy ditch area that I'm sure you guys can see right now. The truck rolled into this ditch with Grant still pinned underneath it. Aaron placed a call to 911 at 8:44 a.m. and we are now going to listen to that 911 call together.
Here's your emergency.
It's 1357 South Water Street. It's off 109. Please hurry.
You said 57?
Please hurry.
Okay, what's going on?
1357. My son's truck backed over him, and it's rolled over him and dragged him into the ditch, and it's on top of him. He's trapped under the truck, and somehow it drug him underneath it. Yes, my son is under it. I'm trying to call 911.
Okay, what's your name?
Oh my God. My name is Aaron Solomon.
And you said
oh my God.
1357 South Water Avenue, right?
Yes.
How old
yes.
is the male?
He's 18. He just turned 18 a couple weeks, about a month ago. It's my son. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is not good.
Is he awake and
Oh, please
talking
hurry.
to you?
I don't think so. He's not alert, right? No, he's out. And he's trapped. I got 3 guys here, and he's trapped under the truck.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I understand, sir. Stay on the phone with me while we get somebody out there. What's your name?
Aaron Solomon.
All right, Aaron.
Huh?
What kind of vehicle is it?
It's a Toyota Tacoma, and the vehicle he's underneath the vehicle.
Okay, I've got that.
And it's
Okay, I've got that. What color is it?
It's a white truck. That's my son. It's somehow backed up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on with 911 right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Was your son working on it?
No, he was just getting out of it. We're on an incline, and I guess he didn't have it in park or something, or it wasn't engaged, or... Oh, my God. Oh, my God, I can't believe
Is your son still
this.
not responding?
No.
And he's still
No.
under truck. No one can get him
Yes.
out from under it?
No.
We've got units en route to you. I'm just asking you questions where we can
Huh?
update them, okay? Can you check and see
Huh?
if he's breathing?
Somebody's telling me that he's coming too.
Okay,
Maybe.
he is waking up,
Maybe.
kind of keeping still. So he is
Well, he
breathing?
can't. Yeah, he can't move. I don't think he can move. I don't know.
Okay, I understand.
No, he can't move. He's trapped.
Okay, we got somebody en route. Now, when he wakes up, he might
I'm
be
telling him,
scared.
man.
Can somebody just
I'm
get
telling
down
him.
there and talk to him?
Yeah, somebody talked to him. Shit. There's blood. Is he facing up or down? He's facing up. They said he may aspirate. We need to hurry. Oh, my God.
So does he have blood coming out of his mouth?
Yeah, there's blood coming out. Yeah, somehow it drug him down, I think. I don't know whether it wasn't in park or what, or if it didn't engage the brake, or it drug him underneath somehow.
Okay.
They said he's facing up,
Okay.
but he's bleeding from his mouth. So, Grant, turn your face to the side if you can, barely, but be careful.
Don't move him, okay?
We can't move him. We can't move him. Oh my God.
As I'm sure you guys just heard in the call, Aaron mentioned 3 men trying to help Grant get out from under his truck. However, when authorities arrived on the scene, no one could find those 3 men. Not to mention, it's a little odd that your son gets pinned under his own truck and you're not running down there to help him. Somehow, Aaron also didn't hear his son scream for help. According to Angie, family, and other friends, they said that Grant always contacted his girlfriend when he got to a new location before he got out of his truck. However, on that morning of July 20th of 2020, Grant did not text his girlfriend. Also, for a period of time, no one knew where Grant's phone was. After the suspicious and supposed accident, Grant was then taken to a nearby hospital and was sadly pronounced deceased at 9:28 a.m. at just 18 years old. A week later, Aaron was calmly explaining to Angie what happened, and Angie recorded it, and I'm going to put the recording in right now so you guys can hear it and see it for yourselves. And if you guys are just an Audible Spotify listener, I suggest tuning in and watching this because you'll see.
But the wheels weren't on him?
No.
So how did he was laying under there?
Yeah, his head back over there, but not with the wheel on him. And
His head was
he
where?
like at an angle. His head was like...
His feet were down the other way?
Angled back like that. So the wheels, neither of these tires were on him. But I don't know if the back ones had run over him. I don't know. You know, I don't, because I didn't actually see everything
so
happen.
these tires were in front of him.
Correct.
Okay, so you're saying that he was laying right here, and then he angled that way.
Well, just slightly
Okay, wait.
that
So
way.
okay, no.
Because if
so
he were like straight across, it might have been.
No, just say
it was-
Grant is long and straight right here. So instead of being long and
Right.
straight,
No,
he's
it's more
long
like-
and.
No, so he is like.
Oh God, Aaron, you don't have to do
Well,
this.
I know, but I'm trying to, like an angle like this. So not straight across, not...
But behind
Not.
that tire right
Yes, exactly, exactly.
there. Yeah,
Last time I see Grant
right.
is literally like this. And I see him, I don't see the truck rolling yet.
Well, yeah.
I don't even see it roll until I see it kind of settling back there. Right at that time, I get like a word email, and I'm like, I just look down for a second to see. So I didn't see to the point where he gets to this. This is the last thing I see.
Did he close that door?
He was closing the door when I saw him, and so and the doors were closed when I get out. So I don't know when the truck started rolling, because I told Sam, I said, Sam, if I had seen it start to roll, I would have jumped out. If I see the truck.
In this recording, when Aaron was explaining to Angie what happened, Aaron changed his story. He said that Grant was getting his baseball gear out of his back seat, which makes sense because that is usually what Grant would do. But right here in my hand is the written statement that Aaron Solomon gave to the police on the day of the accident. I'm going to read it to you guys right now, but I'm also going to put a picture of it on the screen so you guys can read it for yourselves. My son Grant and I pulled into WPI separately, parked side by side. I was still in my car, but noticed my son got out to get his baseball gear out of the back of his truck. I looked down to check a work email, and the next thing I know, I hear the truck rolling backwards into the ditch. I get out of my car to try to find my son. I saw that he was dragged underneath the truck and immediately called 911. So yeah, a week later, the story had already changed. In the hospital, Angie was allowed to see her son's body, and remember that she is a doctor, and she was shocked with how intact he was. And I say shocked because usually with car-related injuries, these are 4,000 to 4,500 pound vehicles. The person is beyond crushed and bruised. However, he didn't really even have a broken bone. The hospital staff recorded a bleeding wound on the back of his skull and 3 bruises, one on his jaw, one near his left hip, and the other on his right thigh. There were no scratch or scrape marks, as though Grant's body had been dragged down an asphalt and rocky hill, which according to Aaron, that is exactly what happened. Grant also had no burn marks or heat wounds that would have been caused by being under a hot car. Grant had no fractures, punctures, bleeding, or any other wounds besides bruises and the blunt force trauma to the back of his head. And that blunt force trauma to his head was determined to be the primary cause of death. So what caused that? Angie requested a further investigation into her son's death, but the police just took Aaron's statement, this paper right here, and just promptly closed the case. Aaron also initially refused to get his son an autopsy and also refused to get the truck forensically tested or tested in any way. Which, I don't know about you guys, but if a family member or a friend or my own child was killed supposedly by their own Toyota Tacoma, I would be going after Toyota, like if I had all of the money that Aaron did. A few tests, however, were run on Aaron's truck by the Nashville police, and I'm going to tell you guys what was in their report. So for a little background on cars, not that I'm a car person myself, the main thing that would cause a truck like that to roll backwards if it were in park is if there was a faulty transmission. And Grant had been driving a 2015 Toyota Tacoma that I believe had recently been checked out in May of 2021. Okay, so according to this report right here about Grant Solomon's truck, on May 6th of 2021, the 2015 Toyota Tacoma pickup was again inspected. The scope of the inspection was to determine the following. Can a determination be made as to whether the vehicle contained any mechanical defects? If the vehicle's transmission contained mechanical defects, can it be determined to a reasonable degree of mechanical certainty that the defects existed at the time of the accident? 3. If the vehicle's transmission or other component had a mechanical defect or maintenance issues, can it be determined if the extent of those issues would have caused or contributed to the accident in question? To document any issues regarding the maintenance or mechanical condition of the vehicle if they exist. So essentially, they just tested the vehicle to look for any of these very common mechanical errors. And when I say very common, I mean very common to this specific type of quote-unquote accident. Mr. Head downloaded the vehicle's control units with a diagnostic scan tool. 3 diagnostic trouble codes were present. These DTCs would not have caused the vehicle to roll while it was in park, and it has been confirmed many times that Grant's truck was indeed in park. The report goes on to say this: the different tests that the Toyota was subjected to gave no indication that the transmission parking pawl was defective and unable to hold the vehicle when it was placed into park. So in summary, nothing was wrong with the transmission, and the transmission would have been the main thing that could have caused the car to roll down that incline while in park. Furthermore, let's look at the incline itself. There was no blood or anything on the rocks or gravel to indicate that someone was dragged down it. Additionally, the truck itself had very little damage on it. One of the main pieces of evidence that the authorities used to close this case immediately is that the back bumper of the truck was folded in. However, this was the stock bumper of the truck, aka the bumper that the truck came with, and as part of a safety feature on that Toyota Tacoma, the 2015 model, at the slightest of collisions or accidents, the bumper is designed to fold in for safety purposes. Let's also take a look at the grass of the ditch that the truck supposedly rolled into. All of the grass is standing up completely straight, and there are no tire marks or tracks leading into the grass. Also, there were no tire marks or anything like that on Grant himself. Another very important piece of information in this case is that after the supposed accident with the truck that ended his son's life, Aaron went and drove that truck for months after, and he never got it checked out. It's also important to mention that after months of driving the truck, Aaron Solomon allegedly committed insurance fraud. He was able to convince an insurance agent to agree on paper to have the truck totaled. However, the truck was indeed never actually totaled and somehow wound up at a scrap yard and was about to be auctioned off until Angie was able to intercept the truck. And now we are back to present day between 2022 and 2023. Because Angie was receiving no legal help whatsoever in her state of Tennessee, she went to social media to get justice for Grant. There are the accounts Freedom for Gracie, which document the abuses that Aaron has done to Gracie, as well as all current updates. True crime creators like myself and others are trying to help Angie, Angie's family, and Angie's team get justice for Grant by having the case reopened. Now, 3 individuals in Tennessee have the power to reopen and reinvestigate this case, and I'm going to put their names and contact information on the screen. And I believe in March of 2022, Angie and Aaron had another court hearing. Instead of hearing out any of the evidence, the court just ruled that everything that Angie was saying on social media about Aaron and his abuses and his illegal activities is false. However, these were the same exact people who have been saying that for years now. Angie is a very sweet woman and an excellent mother. She just wants what is best for her children and has been fighting for that for years. I hate that this entire thing has caused her to lose her son, but I am hopeful that her and Gracie will get justice for Grant, and that the truth in this case will eventually come to light with the help of people like you. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to Grant's case. It is truly appreciated, and it truly does make a difference. I will see you guys next time. I love you all.